guys, welcome back to another video. We have a big upcoming week potentially if there is a decision with Xbox and the FTC case, but we have a bunch of other news to jump into before that decision is made. And let's start off with this. So Xbox had the ID at Xbox Developer Accelerator program, and they had a bunch of information that came out in terms of statistics for the Xbox ecosystem and the Xbox platform. So we haven't gotten a sales number from Xbox in a relatively long time, and now we know that the Xbox Series X and S is about 21 million plus consoles sold. So this is a decent number. It is slightly ahead of the Xbox One generation. I think it's like almost about 1 million ahead of where Xbox was, or the Xbox One was at the same time. And we also have heard stuff come out in the FTC case, as well as grumblings last time that the financial reports came out that there have been supply issues for the Xbox. And one of the major reasons it was unveiled at the FTC case was that they were putting a lot of their consoles, or most of their consoles, into the xCloud, the Xbox Cloud Gaming servers, which was the bet that they were taking, saying that they were kind of sacrificing the console market for it. But now I'm hoping that that does turn around, because there obviously is a demand for the Xbox consoles, especially when something like Starfield is going to be coming out. You're going to see a uptick in the demand overall, not just for the consoles itself, but to get into the Xbox ecosystem with things like Xbox Game Pass. But 21 million plus, not an exact number. And I'm sure by the end of this generation, it will be way past where the Xbox One was, even though around 890,000, I think is the number I saw, or a million around there, ahead of the Xbox One. Doesn't seem like that much. I think we will see a lot more by the time this generation ends compared to the numbers that we know of with the Xbox One sales. Now, when it comes to combined sales, this is something that is always a massive number, especially in the beginning of this generation, because you have to look at the install base for the PS4, the Xbox One, combined with the Series X and S. The developers are looking at that, and when they're releasing their games, as to whether they need to continue to put games out on the last generation of consoles. Now, I think we're moving away from that. Xbox has also said they are moving over all into the Xbox Series X and S, but they have 79 million combined sales right now of the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X and S. And then in terms of the Series S players who are new to Xbox, is 48%. And that is a huge percentage that I think Xbox looks at that number, and no matter what naysayers are saying about the Series S, people still thinking it's holding back the generation or that it was a bad choice. When 48%, half of the consumers who are picking up this platform are new entrants to your ecosystem, to Xbox, it's extremely successful. I mean, they are probably very happy to see that, and very happy with their choice of releasing a very low cost entry into the Xbox ecosystem. Obviously, people look at the Series S, they see the price, they see what you're able to play on Xbox Game Pass, and it's really a no-brainer. To me, the Series S at this point is an impulse buy. People just go in and on a whim, they'll just go pick up a Series S. I mean, $300 is not no amount of money, but for a lot of people, it isn't the same in their mind as spending $500, $600, $700, or however much you're going to be spending if you wanted to build a PC or something like that. Or in Canada, at least, the Series X is $599, $600, and they're raising it $50, so it's going up to $650. And the PlayStation 5 at launch was $630, and then they raised it to $650. So getting the Series S at $299, which they did have those sales here in Canada during the holiday season stuff, it's just a no-brainer for a lot of people jumping into the console market. Now, when it comes to active Xbox app users, there's 15.6 million active Xbox app users, and I'm sure they look at that, and that can be growing way more than 15.6 million with the amount of people that have phones. And at the same time, they're probably thinking along the lines of mobile gaming, and if 15.6 million people are already using the app, think about how many people are going to actually use the app if they have full mobile games in there. Like they've been saying, they wanted to develop a store to compete with Apple and Google. 20% monthly active Xbox app users, year-over-year growth. And they see the PC markets with Game Pass. There are 85 PC markets that actually have access to the service. Now, when it comes to active Windows gaming PCs, 248.6 million. It's a huge number. 168.3 million monthly Windows Store visitors, and 3% year-over-year increase in paid unique visitors. So some interesting stats there. Windows gaming PCs, 250 million is a big number. Obviously, that's something that is a massive market, way bigger than the console market will ever be, just because pretty much everybody has a PC that in some form can play games and play a lot of these games that are on PC Game Pass, especially if they're the smaller indie games. And this is for the indies, for the ID and Xbox stuff. Their requirements to play their games are very, very low. So pretty much any PC is going to be able to play them. Now, when it comes to how many games are actually in Game Pass, this is a question here that when we were looking at the price raises of Game Pass, I think it was $1 for PC Game Pass, and no, $1 for console Game Pass, I should say, and $2 for Game Pass Ultimate. People were wondering why they didn't raise the price of PC Game Pass, and there's a couple of reasons thrown out there. One, they obviously don't want to try to stagnate that market at this point. We've already heard Phil Spencer say that they believe that they've reached pretty much everybody who's going to be signing up to Game Pass on console as of right now. It will grow, but as of right now at the market, they do believe that they're kind of at that point where it isn't going to be growing exponentially. And with PC, that won't be the case. But the other thing people are talking about is the amount of games on the differences between console and PC Game Pass. And we can see there's about 100 plus more games on console than there is on PC. So 400 plus console games, 300 plus PC games, and 300 plus games for streaming. And the highest source of new gamers is just, obviously this isn't surprising, US number 1, that's the unsurprising one, Brazil number 2, and then Mexico number 3. And then this is something that very interesting for me to see. I've always had this question as to how is Game Pass cloud gaming doing in the Asian markets, especially now as there are more games that would appeal to those markets. And it says in South Korea, 1 in 3 only stream Game Pass, and you probably could assume they're probably using their phone for a lot of that, maybe just an internet browser, maybe the smart TVs, all of those sources there. But that's pretty big. 1 in 3 only stream. And I would love to see what that number is in a market like Japan. Now, when it comes to streaming capable devices worldwide, there are 1 billion plus, which right there tells you why they're getting into streaming and why they believe this market is still very nascent and it is going to explode in the next couple of years. And by the time we're getting through into the next generation, and there's been a 1-year anniversary of the Xbox app on Samsung smart TVs. Now, I don't have a TV that supports this app, but I was at my friend's and I was using this app, and it is very well done. If you have a Samsung TV with it, it's just seamless. And it just fits right in to the UI of these TVs. And I'm crossing my fingers that whatever business deal that they did sign with Samsung Smart TVs is ending at some point, so then they can expand this out to all of the different TVs that you would be able to stream games from, because it just works really well and it looks really good. And it's a no-brainer as a way to expand out the Xbox ecosystem. So it looks like this is something we've been talking about. We saw this coming, that in-game advertising is coming. We don't really know the form of that, but it will be something to expect. And I don't know, as long as it's not intrusive. I talked about this way back when these rumors came out and when there was articles coming out about in-game advertising. As long as it's not intrusive, I don't think it's a big deal, because we have so many games here, like free-to-play games, they have to make money somehow. Or other games where the entry fee is just so low, but they are bigger AAA style of games. They got to make money some way. And if they're able to integrate advertising in a seamless fashion where we're actually paying less at the base price for these games, we're not paying $70 or whatever. For example, if you're in a driving game and maybe there's an ad on a billboard as you're driving by, I don't see it as that big of a deal, because we look at the way modern gaming is right now. When we're paying full price for games at launch, half of them you can't even play right away because there's performance issues, there's bugs, all this type of stuff. So at least in this way, if they're going to reduce the cost of actually entering into the game and they're going to offset that with advertising, it's not going to feel so bad once you've spent $70 on a broken game. You're just going to have to wait until it's fixed, and you're not going to feel like you wasted that money. Now, when it comes forward to developer tools, so tools for game development and gaming platforms and partners. This is some stuff here. We always hear about the tools. We want Xbox to use a lot of these tools, especially the RDNA 2 stuff, but they just go over like the Azure cloud, the gaming tools in there, because there's development stuff within the actual cloud, which takes the load off of actually having to use your PC to develop a lot of these games. And they talk here about PlayFab, as well as growing revenue with premium sales, in-game ads again, and Game Pass services. And then here are all the tools that these developers get to use. Obviously, as gamers, if we're not making games, this really is not important to us, but this is the stuff that if you're an indie dev, having more tools, especially the tools that are in the cloud that will take the load off of your actual PC and stuff, I think is definitely going to be enticing, which may mean more indie devs are going to be coming over to make games specifically for Xbox and specifically to get them into Xbox Game Pass. And then they just go over some more tools as well as the community channel. So this was just a pretty interesting overall showcase in terms of getting a number and a feel of to how the Xbox market is doing with sales, and especially stuff like the 1 in 3 streaming in Korea, as well as the amount of games in console Game Pass and PC Game Pass. So we'll see how this all changes up and how these numbers change going forward with games like Starfield coming out. And will it make a huge dent, especially in something like console sales, Starfield? I don't think so. We already know this. Phil Spencer said this, and it's just, we have these statistics to show that the majority of people don't actually pick up a console for first party games. They pick it up for everything else. And I think the Series S is very indicative of this, as we're seeing most of the new players are jumping in because of the Series S. It's probably because they see Game Pass. They just want to play everything that's on there. Now, jumping over here, sticking on first party games, let's talk about some Banjo Kazooie, a game tons of people want to see come back. People have been waiting for its revival for a long time now. The question here is, do they have a studio that wants to work on this game, that's willing to work on it, that has the time to work on it? And as of right now, you look what Rare is working on. It's not going to be Rare, with Sea of Thieves continuously being worked on, and them working on their next game, which is Everwild. And then there is the talk about maybe Toys for Bob comes in if the Activision Blizzard acquisition goes through, and that's the studio that would be great for Banjo Kazooie. Toys for Bob is awesome, especially with these styles of games, so I think that would make a lot of sense. But they have a very good IP here, kind of like that mascot style of game that we could see Xbox bring back as that Xbox 3D platformer. I love those styles of games. I've always loved those styles of games. But we have some more information here. We have original members of the Banjo Kazooie team. We were speaking with VGC, and here's what they say, specifically the composer Grant Kirkhope. Here's what Grant says in terms of the likelihood that this game is going to be making a revival. He says, I feel like you'd have to get a team with the humor that we had back then, and that's hard to replicate. I think Rare would be open to somebody if they found the right team, but I don't feel that that team exists. I'm also not convinced the audience is there either. So I kind of agree here that maybe the team right now doesn't exist at Xbox that do want to actually go ahead and make this game. You don't want to force this onto one of those development teams, then it comes out as a bad product. This is something that there has to be a passion there to be able to bring back Banjo Kazooie. And maybe again, it's like a Toys for Bob, where we've seen their passion with reviving games like Spyro, like Crash. And I feel like that would just be the perfect fit. Perfect fit if they can come in and it's an IP that they do want to work with, that they can be able to at least maybe even give a remake of the first one or something. But it'd be great also to see a brand new one. In terms of the audience not being there, I would completely disagree with that. I think there definitely is an audience there that would love to jump back into a new Banjo Kazooie game. And then you would be able to foster a brand new audience of fans that come in, especially if this does launch into Xbox Game Pass. It would be perfect for that. So I hope that they do eventually bring it back. As of right now, the original team thinks that it just won't be happening anytime soon. And let's look at Compulsion Games. As we know, Project Midnight, or South of Midnight, which is a game that was shown off at the Xbox Game Showcase. We finally got the reveal for it. They had a quick trailer where we didn't really see anything about the gameplay or anything like that, but we saw the artistic style that they are going for at Compulsion, who are generally known for their great artistic games. In terms of, you look at the first game that they did put out, which was Contrast, third-person puzzle platformer, which, I mean, it's on Game Pass. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out to see kind of where Compulsion came from. It isn't the greatest game in the world, but it is pretty cool, and the artistic style that they did go with was awesome. And then, like, the characters and everything, you could see Compulsion being a unique studio. And then obviously We Happy Few, which again, another definitely unique game, maybe didn't live up to the expectations as a lot of people wanted it to live up to, but different and overall Compulsion comes out and gives us new experiences. And I think South of Midnight is going to be no different, especially from that first trailer that we did see. And then we see this concept art saying, here is an initial concept art for Skaken, or I think it's Skaken or Shaken, I don't know, Shaken Bones, crafted by our talented artists. See how closely the final 3 versions aligns with its initial vision. Can you spot subtle divergences? So take a look at this, go look at the actual trailer and see if those things ended up. And we also saw the leaks of this game way before they announced it, with the art of, I believe, the original character, which does look different than the actual trailer that we did see, if that was the original character that we saw in those leaks. So I actually can't wait for this game to see more about it. What type of gameplay will it be? Will it be first person? Will it be third person? Will it be action, puzzle platformer? I have a feeling it will probably be closer to the lines of Contrast in terms of the puzzle platformer style of gameplay. So we'll see. And hopefully they showed it off at the showcase, so they're ready to start showing more of it, I would say, next year. Now, finally, let's talk about Assassin's Creed. As you guys know, I love my Assassin's Creed games, and we have a report here from Insider Games saying that Ubisoft currently has 11 Assassin's Creed games planned. So we have the smaller one coming out this year, which is going back to the older style of the more stealthy Assassin's Creed, which is Assassin's Creed Mirage. And we're also getting the open world styles coming out, like the upcoming codename Red, which is set in Japan. And then there's also like the mobile game that they're working on. There's a VR game. So they're just making a ton of different Assassin's Creed games. And the biggest thing of all that I think people are going to be very excited for is, for a lot of people, probably their favorite Assassin's Creed, or at least up there as one of the best ones ever made, is Assassin's Creed Black Flag. There is a report here that there is a remake of this game in the works, and that would just be a phenomenal thing. I absolutely hope that that does happen. It would be interesting to see how they can remake it and just it looks so much better than it did previously, because this was a game that launched with the PS4, the Xbox One, but was also on the PS3 and the Xbox 360, similar to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where if you look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla right now on your Xbox Series X or PS5, the game is still one of the better looking games this generation to have been released, and it ran very well. It was really, really well done. And Assassin's Creed Black Flag, it was very similar, really good looking game, and ran very well on the last generation of platforms. So remaking it, I think obviously we get it up to 60 FPS on console, and just upgrading the textures and the lighting and all that type of stuff could be very, very cool. What else is interesting is one of the biggest aspects of Assassin's Creed Black Flag was the sailing, the pirate aspect of it. And we know Skull and Bones is coming out. And I feel like they literally just took the sailing from Assassin's Creed Black Flag and put it into Skull and Bones and stripped out everything else and made this new game. I wonder if they're going to expand on the sailing from some of the stuff that they've developed in these Skull and Bones games. But I can't wait for that. We'll see if this announcement does come true. But this here, again, is from a new report, where the report here comes specifically from a Kotaku article, who are sourcing 2 people familiar with the plan, but obviously are not being named. So, I mean, again, take this with a grain of salt. Ubisoft has declined to comment on it. Of course, they wouldn't comment on it. They don't want this coming out, but it's obviously still years away. But just lots of Assassin's Creed coming down the line. And if you're a fan of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, looks like there will be a remake. But I will leave the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.